The Twilight Zone episode Mirror Image first aired on February 26, 1960. Written by Rod Serling, it's one of the series' most unsettling psychological thrillers and is often cited as a precursor to later stories involving parallel universes and evil doubles. The episode takes place almost entirely in a lonely bus station late at night. The main character is Millicent Barnes, played by Vera Miles. Millicent is a young woman traveling to visit her sick mother. She arrives at the station and waits for her bus, expecting a routine journey. Almost immediately, strange things begin to happen. Millicent asks the ticket agent when her bus will arrive. To her surprise, he tells her she has already asked the same question several times. She insists that she hasn't. The agent and other passengers become puzzled. Various people claim to have seen Millicent in places where she knows she's never been. A suitcase that she carefully placed beside her suddenly appears somewhere else. No one can explain how it moved. Millicent begins to suspect that someone is playing a prank on her. As the night progresses, the incidents become increasingly disturbing. Witnesses report seeing another woman who looks exactly like Millicent. The mysterious duplicate seems to appear and disappear throughout the station. At one point, Millicent glimpses the double herself. The sight is brief, but terrifying. The duplicate is identical in every detail. The experience leaves her shaken and increasingly desperate. Millicent tries to convince the other people in the station that something impossible is happening. Instead, they begin to believe she is emotionally unstable. Among the waiting passengers is a young man named Paul Grinstead, played by Martin Milner. He's sympathetic to Millicent and listens to her story when others dismiss her fears. Still, even he struggles to accept what she claims to have seen. The more Millicent insists the existence of her double, the more isolated she becomes. Eventually, Millicent develops a theory. She suggests that another dimension exists alongside her own, and that a duplicate version of herself has crossed over. According to her theory, the duplicate intends to replace her. This possibility terrifies her because it would mean losing not only her identity, but her very existence. As her bus finally arrives, Millicent attempts to escape the station. However, she encounters her duplicate face to face. The sight overwhelms her. The double boards the bus while Millicent collapses into hysteria. The authorities are summoned and she's taken away, appearing to everyone around her to have suffered a complete mental breakdown. After Millicent is removed, Paul Grinstead remains at the station. As he waits, he notices strange occurrences similar to those Millicent described. Then he sees his own double. The duplicate calmly approaches and takes his place. The episode ends with the implication that Millicent was telling the truth all along. The narrator's closing remarks suggested that somewhere beyond human understanding another dimension exists, and that its inhabitants occasionally cross into our reality. Vera Miles, born on August 23, 1930, is a retired American film and television actress best known for her collaboration with directors Alfred Hitchcock and John Ford. Miles was born Vera June Ralston in Boise City, Oklahoma, and raised mainly in Kansas. Before acting, she worked as a typist and Western Union operator while attending high school. And she also entered beauty pageants. In 1948, she was crowned Miss Kansas, which helped open the door to Hollywood opportunities. After moving to Los Angeles in the early 1950s, she began getting small film and television roles, gradually building a reputation as a poised, natural performer. Miles' early film career included supporting and leading roles in modest dramas and westerns. She quickly became associated with strong, grounded female characters. Key early films included The Rose Bowl Story, Wichita, and Tarzan's Hidden Jungle. Her career gained major momentum when she worked with two of Hollywood's most influential directors. The director John Ford cast Miles in what became one of her defining roles, The Searchers and The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. These performances established her as a key figure in classic American Western cinema, often portraying emotionally strong but understated women in frontier settings. Miles became closely associated with Alfred Hitchcock after impressing him in television work. He placed her under personal contract and intended her to become one of his leading Hitchcock blondes. Notably, Hitchcock-related roles, The Wrong Man and Psycho. She was originally intended to star in Vertigo, but withdrew due to pregnancy, one of the most famous casting what-ifs in film history. Her role in Psycho remains one of the most recognizable performances, playing the determined sister investigating Marion Crane's disappearance. Miles was also prolific in television, appearing in many anthology and drama series. Miles continued working steadily through the 60s and 70s in film and television, including The FBI Story, Follow Me Boys, The Green Berets, Castaway Cowboy. She later reprised her role in Psycho 2 in 1983. Vera Miles was known for controlled, emotionally nuanced performances, strong but understated screen presence, and the ability to convey anxiety and inner conflict without melodrama. She became especially admired for portraying ordinary women in extraordinary situations, particularly in Hitchcock's psychological dramas and Twilight Zone style suspense stories. Miles was married several times and had 4 children. She gradually retired from acting in the mid 1990s and has since lived a private life away from Hollywood. Today, Vera Miles is remembered as a key collaborator of Hitchcock and John Ford, one of the most important actresses of the 50s and 60s suspense and Western cinema, and of course, a standout guest star in classic anthology television, especially The Twilight Zone. Martin Milner, born December 28, 1931, passed away September 6, 2015, was an American actor and radio host best known for starring in 2 major classic television series, Route 66 from 1960 to 1964, and Adam 12, 1968 to 1975. He also made many memorable television guest appearances in both film and television, including an early role in the Twilight Zone episode Mirror Image. Milner was born in Detroit and moved several times during childhood, eventually settling in Los Angeles. His father worked in film distribution and his mother had been a dancer, so he grew up around entertainment. As a teenager in Los Angeles, he began acting in school and theater programs and quickly transitioned into film work. Milner made his film debut at a young age with Life with Father, 1947. He continued working steadily in films through the late 1940s and 50s, appearing in productions such as Mr. Roberts and The Sweet Smell of Success, often in supporting roles that showcased his natural, clean-cut screen presence. During the early 1950s, he served in the U.S. Army, where he worked in special services, creating training films and performing in entertainment units. He also maintained connections to radio and early television work during that time. Milner became a major television star in the 1960s. In Route 66, he played Todd Stiles, a young man traveling across America with his friend in a Corvette. The series became famous for filming on location across the United States and for its realistic, character-driven storylines. Later, he starred as Officer Pete Malloy in Adam 12 alongside Kent McCord. The show focused on realistic day-to-day policing in Los Angeles and became one of the defining police dramas of its era. Milner's calm, professional style helped make Malloy one of television's most recognizable and respected police characters. After Adam 12, Milner continued working in television with guest roles in such series as Murder, She Wrote, MacGyver, Airwolf, RoboCop the series, and Columbo. He also returned briefly to Adam 12 in revival projects and later participated in documentaries about Route 66. In later years, Milner stepped away from acting and worked in radio broadcasting, including hosting shows in San Diego. He also participated in retrospectives celebrating classic television. He died in 2015 at his home in California at the age of 83. Martin Milner is remembered as one of television's most reliable and naturalistic leading men. Unlike more theatrical performers, his strength was subtle realism, quiet, grounded performances that made his characters feel like real people. He's especially remembered for Route 66 and Officer Pete Malloy in Adam 12. The cities mentioned in this episode, Cortland, Syracuse, Tully, and Binghamton, all lie along Highway 11 in central upstate New York. The use of these places in homage by Rod Serling to his childhood. He was born in Syracuse and lived in Binghamton until he graduated high school. Even when he lived in Hollywood during his heyday, he maintained a home in Binghamton. In the opening scenes, the L and A is blocked from the ladies' sign behind Millicent, so it reads dies. Vera Miles co-starred in Hitchcock's The Wrong Man, where Her husband is accused of a crime perpetrated by a lookalike. Here, Vera Miles stars as Millicent Barnes. 2 years later, on Route 66, she stars as Ellen Barnes. In both episodes, she plays opposite Martin Milner. Paul and Millicent's first conversation lasts almost 3 minutes, yet the clock on the wall remains at 2:15. After Millicent enters the ladies' room, she washes her hands. When she pulls down a paper towel from the dispenser, the next one drops down. In the next shot, after seeing her image in the mirror through the doorway, the dispersed paper towel has disappeared. Concerned for Millicent's well-being, Martin Milner's character calls the police. When they arrive, they are clearly driving a distinctive LAPD car, despite the story taking place in upstate New York. Starting in 1968, of course, Martin Milner would spend nearly a decade as such in such a police car in Adam 12. The climactic chase scene was shot through a series of rear projections. First, they recorded a video of Paul, the real Paul, running down the street. Then they projected that video onto a screen and filmed doppelganger Paul running in front of the screen, creating the illusion of two Pauls. Paul looks down for a few seconds, and when he looks up in his bag is gone, and his duplicate is running out of the door empty-handed. There wasn't enough time for the bag to be taken anywhere or hidden, so the duplicate should have been carrying it. The greatest horror in mirror image is not physical danger, but the possibility of being replaced. Millicent fears that another version of herself can take over her life when no one notices the difference. The episode explores one of humanity's deepest anxieties, the loss of individuality. Through the story, Millicent knows what she's experiencing, yet everybody around her doubts her. The audience shares her uncertainty. Is she seeing something real, or is she losing her grip on reality? This ambiguity creates much of the episode's suspense. Like many Twilight Zone protagonists, Millicent finds herself alone in her knowledge. The more desperate she tries to explain things and what is happening, the less people believe her. The episode captures the terror of being dismissed when one knows something is wrong. The story draws upon the ancient folklore of the doppelganger, a supernatural double whose appearance is often considered an omen of misfortune. Rod Serling modernized this concept by linking it to a parallel dimension rather than its supernatural spirits. The enduring power of mirror image lies in the fact that its horror is deeply psychological. Unlike episodes involving monsters, aliens, or supernatural threats, the terror comes from something more intimate, the possibility that you are no longer unique and that reality itself cannot be trusted. At its core, this episode is about identity. Millicent Barnes believes that another version of herself exists and is attempting to replace her. The fear goes beyond physical danger. If a duplicate can perfectly imitate her appearance, voice, memories, and behavior, then what makes Millicent the real Millicent? This episode raises a profound philosophical question. The uncertainty strikes at the foundation of personal identity. We tend to believe what we possess is unique and cannot be duplicated. Mirror image challenges that assumption. The horror comes from the possibility that individuality may be more fragile than we think. One of the episode's most painful themes is social isolation. Millicent repeatedly tries to explain what's happening. She's an intelligent, rational, and sincere person, yet every attempt to communicate her fears makes her appear more unstable. The station becomes skeptical, the police become suspicious, other passengers become uncomfortable. As a result, Millicent experiences a second nightmare in addition to the double itself. She's completely alone. Rod Serling frequently explored situations in which an ordinary person discovers an extraordinary truth that nobody else can see. The tragedy is not merely that something is frightening is happening, it's that the victim has no way to prove it. Many viewers identify with this aspect of the story because it reflects a common human fear, the fear of having one's experiences dismissed or misunderstood. The episode steadily undermines the audience's confidence in reality. Objects move without explanation, witnesses report contradictory events, time seems to behave strangely, people remembered things that never happened. At first, viewers may suggest that Millicent is imagining everything. As the evidence accumulates, however, certainty becomes impossible. This uncertainty creates a uniquely unsettling form of horror. Most fear involves something external, a monster, a criminal, a disaster. In Mirror Image, the threat is directed at reality itself. If reality cannot be trusted, then there is no stable ground upon which it to stand. The double in the episode can be interpreted in several different ways. On the surface, it's a literal duplicate from another dimension. Symbolically, however, the doppelganger represents hidden anxieties about the self. Many people wonder, what might my life have been if I had made different choices? Is there another version of me that is happier or more successful? Am I truly the person I believe myself to be? The duplicate embodies these questions. It's not merely another person, it's another possibility. The episode transforms a philosophical idea into a tangible thing. Although the story involves science fiction, it reflects the anxieties common in modern society. People often feel threatened, people feel anonymous in large systems and institutions. Individuals can sometimes feel interchangeable, as though they were merely one among millions. Milson's fear of being replaced mirrors a broader concern. The bus station itself reinforces the idea it's a temporary place where people come and go. Nobody truly belongs there. The setting creates an atmosphere in which identity feels uncertain and transient. One of the episode's most fascinating ideas is its suggestion that parallel worlds do exist. Today, alternative realities are common science fiction concepts. In 1960, however, the idea was far less familiar to television audiences. Millicent theorizes that another dimension exists alongside our own, and that barriers between the two dimensions are breaking down. The concept introduces another unsettling possibility. The double is not evil because it's a monster. The double is dangerous because it wants exactly what Millicent wants, to exist. From that perspective, both versions may see themselves as the original. The episode never answers which version is real, making the mystery even more disturbing. Throughout the episode, Millicent tries to approach the problem logically. She seeks evidence, she questions witnesses, she attempts to connect a reasonable explanation. Yet reason ultimately fails to protect her. This reflects a recurring theme in the Twilight Zone. Human beings depend upon the belief that the universe is orderly and understandable. When that belief collapses, fear rushes in to fill the void. Millicent's panic grows because she realizes that the rules she has relied upon all her life may no longer apply. The ending transforms the entire story. For much of the episode, viewers may suspect that Millicent is suffering a psychological breakdown. Then Paul begins experiencing the same phenomenon. The revelation vindicates Millicent, but also deepens the horror. If she was sane all along, then the threat is real. The audience is forced to confront the same terrifying possibility that Millicent faced. Somewhere beyond ordinary perception, another world may exist and another version of ourselves may be watching. Though through Mirror Image, Rod Serling explores the fragile nature of human certainty. We take comfort in believing that we know who we are, we understand reality, other people will recognize the truth for what they see. The episode challenges all three assumptions. The result is a story that remains frightening decades later because it attacks not the body, but the mind. The ultimate horror is not that of a double existing. It's the possibility that our sense of identity, reality, and uniqueness may be far less secure than we imagine. Mirror Image remains one of the most effective psychological horror episodes of The Twilight Zone because it relies on atmosphere rather than special effects. The nearly empty bus station, the late night setting, and Vera Miles' increasing desperate performance creates a feeling of unease that builds steadily throughout the episode. The final revelation that doubles are real transforms what initially appears to be a short story about mental illness into a chilling tale about alternative realities. Decades before parallel universes become common in science fiction, Mirror Image imagined a world where another version of ourselves might be waiting just beyond the boundaries of perception, ready to step into our lives and take our place. That's why Mirror Image is often regarded as one of the most psychologically disturbing episodes of The Twilight Zone. Its fear comes from a question that can never really fully be answered. If you met another version of yourself, how could you ever be certain which one was really you? Mirror Image is a fascinating episode. I've watched it numerous times. Every time I pick out new little minor things in it, the entire show is amazingly done, well directed, and almost perfectly acted. I really love this episode. I think the more you watch it, the more you realize how deep all of the things that are going on will affect your entire psyche. Because at the end, is Vera Miles' character real? Or is she the doppelganger? That's the question to look at. Season one again, another number 5 out of 5. This is a must see. I know you'll enjoy it.